Hi everyone, welcome to our Wednesday with myself, Lynn Constantine, Customer Success Manager over in EMEA, and my lovely friend over here, Shellin Briand. If you would like to introduce yourself, Shellin.
Hello. So happy you're spending some time with us. I'm Shellin Briand, and I am in the United States and one of our customer success coaches. So really happy to have some time with you.
Brilliant. Okay, so we'll get straight to it. Thank you for joining us this evening or this morning, depending on where in the world you are. But we'd just like to talk to you today about the transferable skills that you may have, that you may have picked up along the way in your career journey, and that you can add to your resume, to your CV, and along with your admin, your technical certifications as well. Hopefully you can find yourself a really great job. So I don't know, Shellin, if you would like to kick that off?
Yes, absolutely. And this is, I think, one of the conversations I love to have with the individuals that are curious about training and pivoting their careers, because often there's the feeling that you're going to have to kind of start all over. But in fact, often we can really help identify the transferable skills of high value that allow you to come into roles at a higher level, even as you're developing your Salesforce expertise and really bringing that side of things to life. There are some really important transferable skills, and we'll go through a few of them. And just want to mention these. This isn't a list of ideas and transferable skills that are required, because every role is going to be different and have some different components that are important. But one of the elements that can be very helpful for admins is having a bit of that analytical side to you and analytical skills, the ability to really recognize trends or to pull out actionable insights, to perhaps look at data or information and really try and have that curiosity and that analytical mindset can be a set of transferable skills. So there's a variety of different paid roles and some unpaid for roles that show those analytical skills that you can feature on LinkedIn and your resume and talk about in interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tend to speak, and I'm sure you do too, to quite a few people who are in the banking sector, who have really great transferable tech skills. And accounting is another one that we tend to speak to people, a lot of people that have come from accountings and are looking to pivot. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And then that other range of, those creative teachers. And so you do see this wonderful span. And I know that we have a lot of reward in seeing students that are with us and people that are pivoting into careers that may have those real analytical or those creative. So it kind of spans. But yes, certainly we have a number of people in those sectors that are interested in pivoting and taking advantage of the tremendous opportunities in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's great that we get the chance to speak to people first who, these transferable skills, they're not endless. You don't have to have them. I know a lot of people talk to us about having imposter syndrome. That is such a big word. I think it must run alongside AI at the moment as being the top words we hear. But I think it's, in terms of even, are you a problem solver? Are you in project management? I mean, all of these things all come together. And, with that, even if you haven't had too much of these particular technical skills within your workplace, in your personal life, a lot of transferable skills can come to the fore.
Absolutely. And I think one area that sometimes people don't think about is customer service and those customer service skills of being able to really, deal with end users, of being able to understand needs and identify them and resolve. And there's so many terrific roles that are out there that people don't think in terms of it relating to Salesforce, but in fact, customer service both within the organization, within, your colleagues who are using the Salesforce system, and then truly the company's customers touch Salesforce. So that is a space that a lot of people have valuable transferable skills in that customer service that they don't always think about in terms of bringing that forward into what they're sharing on LinkedIn and their resumes.
Yeah, I agree. And another big one, I think that, it's just thinking about all these transferable skills that we hear about every day, is attention to detail, because I think, that can transfer from your work life or your home life. If you're one of these people that go into somebody's house and notice if they've got any dust on their side, you've got this attention to detail. Of course, at work, in my old role, when I was in property, mine would be, I'd tend to drive up to a site and I'd be checking on the signage and, making sure there was no rips in any of the flags, or, walking in and making sure that the gardens were up together, and that the cleaners had been cleaning nicely. So I think all of these things that you might not think, they are great transferable skills, and most people have them in one way or another.
Absolutely. And I think along those lines, that kind of training and onboarding, that's another place where in many, many different sectors and industries, there's that component of training people and helping to, onboard them or get them involved. Those are a couple of components that are so important for administrators, and that ability to train end users to think in terms of communicating in a way that people can learn and absorb and turn around and be able to be successful using the system. So that's a space that I know that as we help people identify their transferable skills, that one can come up often.
Yeah, and again, back to teaching, just to say about that, another one that I would imagine a lot of people that watch our Wednesday will be end users and will be working in the Salesforce space, even if they're not in admin. And of course, training and onboarding, which most people do to a fashion within their roles, that's another big one. When you think that you might just touch on it, you might be training someone to be an end user, you might be a trailblazer yourself, so that's always exciting. But the ability to train and to teach others what it is a great transferable skill to have, I think. Don't you agree?
I do, absolutely. And identifying those places in the past. So I know often we find that people struggle with their LinkedIn profile or their CV and resume because their past role doesn't feel applicable. And what you might feature, let's say, as from just taking on that teacher conversation a bit more, of what you might put down on your CV about your role in teaching might not have anything to do with training and onboarding, because it wouldn't be as important if you were going for a teaching job. But it's a good opportunity to go back through your past roles and really bring forward those examples that are most relevant to what you're going for next in the Salesforce admin role. So that's just a good way to think through sort of the past. Can you bring some of these other transferable skills and have examples and provide your impact and how you made a difference?
That's it. And when you understand a business process as well, a good grasp of sales or marketing, customer service, as you've already touched on, and Salesforce, within your role, however you're working, you will have transferable skills. And like I say, I know that we speak to people every day and they say, oh, I don't know if I can do this, but actually it's something that everyone can do, because within an admin role, it's surprising, within any Salesforce role, actually, it's surprising how your transferable skills really do help.
And some of the things you might not think about, like adaptability, right? Like we don't usually think about skills in those terms, but with Salesforce and this kind of role, and especially today with the kind of changes and the advancements, integration of AI, and just some of the expansion of Salesforce into, every area of a company, if you can talk about being someone who's adaptable, that you are willing and able to quickly learn new tools and features and updates. Now this is Salesforce specific, but if you could tie it in to things that you've done in the past and the way that you are adaptable, and have some examples that showcases that, yes, you are going to be a great team member, because as the system and the company grows and adapts, you're someone who's going to jump in and figure it out and learn it and be really willing to do so.
Absolutely. And I think as well, like you say, when you use the word adaptable, there's so many words. And, if you sit down and make a list yourself about things you're good at, you can normally work them into a job role. So you might sit and think that, you're particularly good at something specific. Quite often that will transfer into transferable skills. As I say, you don't have to just be focused on your work life. You can look at your transferable skills for your home life as well.
Yes. Yeah. And volunteering, education, projects that you might do. So absolutely, leadership with, homeowners associations. And there's so many places that you can pull that forward. And I think one that often comes up that sometimes surprises people, because if you don't understand necessarily the place of the Salesforce admin within an organization, you might not think about it, but stakeholder management is such a big one. And so many people have that, and we bring out the stories and they can tell us how good they are at really working with multiple groups in the admin role. It is going to be really critical to be able to balance the needs and priorities and timelines of different groups, different individuals in the organization, often people that don't report to you and you don't report to, and that can be competing for, resources and prioritization. So if you're somebody who can come to the table with examples, that may be sports teams, being a new basketball mom and seeing how all of this works has been fascinating. But just the ability to really work with different people, to get their needs, to be able to say no at times or not yet, and work well in that capacity. And that's a huge issue for many companies in hiring for this role. And knowing that ahead of time and bringing some examples into the interview process can really help you stand out.
Definitely. It might be that you have these transferable skills from a previous role. As we've said, quite often things like healthcare workers, teachers, accountants, these are the people that we speak to every day. But you may already be in the Salesforce space, things like data migration and integration, having experience with migrating data from one system to another, or integrating different systems. All of that is, of course, really useful on your CV, but it's not a must. All of that, of course, does look great, but all of this you can learn. That's the great thing with doing Salesforce admin course, is that you learn the foundational skills that you need to take you to propel you forward.
Yes, absolutely. And having that balance of, and I know this, Lynn, is I dove into Salesforce and just thought, oh, I'll just study it. I don't need a class. I could, learn this. And I did. It was harder than I thought, but passed the test and then realized, wow, I really don't know much. I certainly would not want anyone to trust me with their system. And being able to learn and have mentors and really hear about how things actually work behind the scenes is so valuable. And some of the things I assumed would be transferable skills weren't really transferable skills the same way. And the network, I'd say that was something else, Lynn, that I didn't realize or didn't appreciate, is that the network that you can build being part of a community and part of, taking a course where you're working within a community, that can make such a huge difference. And having people who can speak to your transferable skills, where you may not have it all on paper, but when you can have someone who could really speak to your innate ability and talents and qualities and your past experience that demonstrate those transferable skills, that can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And that totally resonates with me as well, because as you know, I decided to pivot my career and I signed up with Supermums, as it happens. And I know you've probably all heard this before, but I'm going to say it again in case you missed it. But when I signed up, that was the same reason for me, because I felt that learning on my own, I just wasn't getting the clarity that I needed. And, having a classroom situation to attend every week was, I think for me, it was not a case of thinking, well, I'm busy tonight, I'll do it tomorrow. It was, I knew that I was going to be at this classroom situation once a week. I knew that my mentor, my other classmates were all gonna be there for me. So I know we're getting a little bit off track here, but I think from what you said just then, it's that was the reason that I decided to come over to Supermums as well. The community is great.
It sure is. And I think sometimes you get to see how things work behind the system and looking at case studies. And one of the areas that I think many people come with tremendous transferable skills is in that project management space, not necessarily being a project manager officially by title, but being someone who can coordinate and oversee projects, managing timelines and deadlines and ensuring deliverabilities and things that are met on schedule. That's critically important to be successful in these types of roles. And you can bring those experiences from so many different roles, paid and unpaid, and demonstrate and give examples of how you're someone that really can do an excellent job with that and that you have a track record of doing so.
Yeah. And, going back to, we talked about problem solving, addressing and resolving issues, technical or otherwise, being able to critically think about challenges that arise. But I think, problem solving is something that we all do. That is a prime example that we're not just talking about work, because you problem solve every day with your children. So you will likely be a problem solver throughout your life as well as your career. So I think all of those sort of things that you think about, you can actually add to your CV, to your resume, because you do them. And it's surprising when you think, do you know what, actually, you're right, I do. It's something I do in my everyday work.
Yes, absolutely. One of my very favorite conversations was early on. And part of our role is talking to people that are really looking at pivoting into Salesforce. And we were brainstorming these transferable skills. And she had taken a 20-year break in her paid career to raise her children. And that was overwhelming to her at the time. But we were able to really go back over the years and find just all these really interesting projects and volunteer roles and leadership roles. And once we took the dollars out, just because you didn't get paid for it doesn't mean that it's not completely related to what you're going to be doing. And in fact, that is what happened. And she was able to finish her course and get her first job, and then has been promoted twice since then. It's been less than 3 years. So those like taking the time and really breaking this down can be so important. And I would say another, I guess it's not a transferable skill, but maybe it's transferable life experience. We often have folks in the community that they're not just starting out in their careers necessarily. They might be a little bit older. They've had some work experience, maybe some parenting, some time off to care for parents or relocate. We have a global, so a lot of those situations. This is a type of role where it's important that you can have some expanded knowledge, that you can understand how business works or organizations work, that you can really appreciate the processes involved. And this is a role where I think you can really bring that forward and talk about your experience to be able to, plug in and understand and have some life experience to bring to the table.
Yeah, definitely. And with you saying about speaking to people all over the world, I mean, I've got a story about everything. So anybody that knows me knows I love a story. And I spoke to a lady the other day who worked in London for many years, and she's moved to Northern Ireland, but she's taken a job with her. So it doesn't really matter where you live in the world. You are able to, to work from home, to have that great work-life balance, and we talk about transferable skills. I mean, obviously, they are very, very important to have on your CV. And as I said, you will all have transferable skills for, one thing or another, whether it's from work or from home life.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's where I also don't want to diminish, although you can absolutely pivot into a Salesforce career and not have any technical background. That is my story. I really couldn't use Excel other than, to really force it to try and do things in a really ugly way most of the time. I know there was so many efficiencies I didn't know. But I would say for those of you who do have some more of a technical background, if you've worked with other systems, if you're someone who's done a little bit of coding or have computer science degrees, if there's roles that have been in that space, that's really valuable as well. And so I would say we tend to have less of that for our community, but we do have a lot of people who had that beginning of their technical related career, took some time off to be a parent, and now trying to figure out how to make it relate to today and current technology and Salesforce specifically. But so much of it is that comfort with how systems work, of how, most of these admin jobs don't require any coding at all. But if you are someone who has some of that, that can make you even more valuable because you can bring that component to it and that understanding. So those of you that have that technical background, it is very transferable, even if it's not Salesforce specific.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, like you say, we speak to people every day from all walks of life, from all parts of their career, from all places in the world. So it's a really varied job that we have. What I particularly love is that we talk to people, and some people have some amazing transferable skills. They've done some great things throughout their lives, and they've just had enough. They just want to try something different. So it's great for us to be able to hear about other people's lives and their stories and their reasons for wanting to pivot their career. And then we can, although ultimately it's everyone's decision if they want to do a training course or they want to pivot into the ecosystem. But it's great to have, I mean, the beauty of obviously being part of Supermums is you can speak to people whatever stage you're at. Even if you're in a job role, we quite often see the WhatsApp groups where someone's doing a particular project and they they're not sure about something and they'll pop a question in the chatter. So it's I want to say once a supermum, always a supermum.
Absolutely. And I know the focus today is on the administrator roles. And I would say that there are more and more people who are recognizing that the world's changing and that having a role that is tied to a technology that is likely to be here for, the next decade, 15, 20 years is a really smart thing. So we are finding people that are in marketing and more creative fields, design fields that are looking and shifting into Salesforce roles because it's that nice blend of both. And Salesforce is moving to a place where there's so much more of that and user interfaces and the design component, accessibility, the marketing, the customer journeys, advertising. So there's so many different types of roles that have these brilliant transferable skills where they might not have the Salesforce expertise yet, but somebody with some of the Salesforce expertise may not have their very valuable transferable skills. So kind of making the package out of, what you bring to the table. And I think a piece of advice that we often give is you can pivot anywhere you like, but it is often helpful if you came from, let's say, a teaching background. We kind of keep going to that. Recently, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of teachers who have off and we're doing something different. But where they're shifting into Salesforce, but because they have this education background and really understand that business, so to speak, if you look at roles that are in that sector, so there's education cloud, there's, many customers or consulting companies that are in that sector, the transferable skills and your expertise and your knowledge and your experience is in the sector, which they have trouble finding people with both. And you're that, great unicorn that has the Salesforce and the sector experience. So that can be a great entry point so that you're not having to come in at an entry level role if you don't want to.
Absolutely. And I think as well, our training manager was a teacher. So we know that very well. And also, something that is quite good, again, maybe veering off admin slightly, change management is always a good, perhaps, goal for a teacher. But, at the end of the day, I think everyone's got something great to bring to the table. Even if you think you haven't, you will have. And just to say as well that the reason that the organisation was set up in 2016, 7 years ago, and if you haven't got your name down for the book, you need to have a look for it because Heather's just written a book. But Heather did set up the organisation for people like most of you that will watch this, for mums who want to have a change in their career. They want to be able to work from home. They want to be able to take the children to school and then come back and do some work online and then go and pick them up again. So I think it's a great area to get into, especially when you've got children.
Yes, I agree. Really quite life-changing. And I want to make sure for those of you who are listening now or who watch the replay, let us know what you're doing currently. And if you're struggling to think about what transferable skills you might bring to the table, we might be able to help you. And Lynn and I will keep an eye on the comments. Either now we can do this live, or if you're watching the replay, we'll respond in the comments. But we might help you. It's one of the things that we could do one-on-one is help you identify those transferable skills to focus on those that will be more valuable to recruiters and hiring managers. And I know, Lynn, you had dropped the Calendly links to book a time with either of us to just talk about your personal situation and what you're thinking, and we can help you identify some transferable skills and see how we could best support you as well.
Absolutely. And I think as well, I've put both of them in there. I put them both in. But if you go to, if you've got a time that works for you and you click onto one of our links and we haven't got any time available, which quite often happens, sadly, please click on the other one because we are both here and we both want to help. So, again, it might not be for you, but it's always worth talking it through and just deciding, we can help you. Shellin is very prominent on LinkedIn. So find us on social media, find Supermums on social media, join in with the conversations, start doing a little bit of research if you haven't already, because, it's worth finding out a bit more. You might be in the early stages, you might be just about to click a button to enroll, but and of course you may already be working in this space, but it's great to be able to chat through things with other like-minded people.
Yeah. And I would, along those notes, I would say that if you know that you want to become a Salesforce admin, the November course starts next week, and we did close enrollment on Friday, but we've got a little flexibility. Lynn and I just asked, can we, get a couple more people in there? So if you haven't had a chance to meet or get your questions answered, please book some time today or tomorrow, and we can talk and see if we can make something come together.
Can I just say that Shellin is in the USA. So if you want to book some time with Shellin today, please do. It's 6 p.m. BST. Oh, GMT now. 6 p.m. GMT. So you probably won't get me this evening, but you will get Shellin. But absolutely, I'm available all day tomorrow. We have actually blocked our diaries for the next 48 hours for anyone that is really keen on getting, as I say, you might just have a question, but that's what we're here for. So we absolutely love helping people and advising people, but ultimately it's down to you.
Absolutely. Well, Lynn, it was so fun to be here with you again today. I love our Wednesday chats.
I enjoy our Wednesdays, absolutely. And I think we'll be here again next Wednesday. We will likely have a different conversation, but transferable skills, everyone has them, whatever they are. So don't ever feel that you can't do this, because you absolutely can do it for sure. So thank you for watching once again, and we look forward to speaking to you either next week or jump on our Calendly link, and please contact us before. So thank you very much from me.
Yes, and from me, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.